Hey guys, I'm Rich from NeoWin, and today we're unboxing the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Yoga with Dolby Vision. So this is a device that I've been waiting to review for some time now, as Dolby Vision was Lenovo's replacement for last year's OLED model. The ThinkPad X1 Yoga is my favorite convertible, hands down, for a variety of reasons that I'm going to show you in a moment. When I reviewed last year's OLED model, I actually said that it might be the perfect laptop. And man, that screen just spoils you for other displays. Now, I did review this year's model already, but it was the 1080p model, so this is my first time reviewing the Dolby Vision model. So, citing battery life, Dolby Vision is the new OLED. They said that OLED affected the battery life too much. I did get a chance to put the two devices side by side at CES, but now I'm going to get a chance to spend some real personal time with them. So let's get this out of the box. Now, you notice the box. This is not the typical packaging that ThinkPads come in. Usually you get a regular cardboard box like this one, which, you know, has the ThinkPad branding at the top. And that's because these are business laptops, and these are meant to be stacked on shelves. Most employees don't ever even see the box. So this is the only one that I've seen that actually comes in nice consumer packaging like that. Okay, and we'll just slide this off. And we can see that it comes in this nice packaging where it just boosts itself up. The only one I've seen that does that is the 25th anniversary ThinkPad, which obviously came in special packaging. So this is the device itself, and we can see that it also comes with a bunch of stuff in the box. Here's our USB Type-C charger. I prefer a good USB Type-C charger. This one is, I believe, it's 65 watts, and I like that over proprietary chargers, or even the pin chargers that you see Lenovo uses in some of the lower-end consumer models. This is going to have the power cable in here. And the reason I like USB Type-C is that I like to use the same charger on all my devices. When I go on trips, I often bring multiple laptops with me, and it's nice to have one charger that can charge everything rather than having to carry around multiple chargers. So this is going to go back into the box just like that, and we can push this aside and we'll take a look at the laptop. By the way, in putting the box aside, I realized that it's actually really heavy. It might be heavier than the laptop itself, and it's just really weird because there's nothing else in there. I left the charger in there, and yeah, that was just interesting to me. So I opened by saying that this is my favorite convertible that exists, and I promise to show you why. So I'm going to show you a couple things about the X1 Yoga specifically. Now, one thing that you'll notice about this device, right, obviously it's a convertible, so the display goes back, but the keys actually retract into the device. So when you're holding it as a tablet, you don't feel those keys sticking out like you would on literally anything else. Lenovo does it on the other ThinkPad Yogas. For example, like the L380 Yoga, that should have that feature as well. But it doesn't do it on its consumer laptops even. So if you have a Yoga 920, you don't have that feature. And it's one of my favorite features on a ThinkPad. We have a pen that's embedded into the device over here, and it recharges while it's stored. Most other devices they'll use a quadruple A battery, which is kind of a pain since those batteries, they're not as common as AA or AAA, so you might not have them in your local drugstore. However, some are rechargeable via USB Type-C or even micro USB. I know HP does Type-C and Huawei does micro USB. I also love that it's stored in the device, though. This is something that, as many pens as there are, there's as many ways of storing the pen. Microsoft uses a magnetic attachment. They used to use a pen loop that you would attach to a Surface Pro type cover. And Lenovo on the Yoga 920, that has sort of a pen loop that plugs into the USB Type-A port, and the problem with that is it's using a USB port. So there's a bunch of different ways. I don't like the magnetic attachment because those pens tend to fall off when it's in your bag, and I think this is the best way to do it. The only downside, of course, is that the pen is a lot smaller than a standard size pen. So if you're really big into pen use, you might want a bigger pen, and then of course you can use a third-party pen if you want to. Okay, so this display does look stunning. Problem connecting to OneDrive, that's obviously because we're signed into a Lenovo account. It's not on my Wi-Fi or my Microsoft account. the display, it looks fantastic. I'm going to give it that. Okay, so this model comes with the Core i7-8650U processor, which is quad-core. Indeed, that was more of the main benefits from last year's models. Over the 7th gen dual-core chips, you're going to get between a 30% and 44% boost in performance, depending on your workload and, well, depending on who you ask, to be honest. This machine also includes far-field voice microphones. So we don't have it right here. So far-field voice microphones, and not just for Cortana, but they're for Alexa as well. So Lenovo, Asus, Acer, and HP all announced at CES that they're going to be producing laptops that have Alexa support. And it hasn't rolled out very widely, and it should be available for this model now. So that's something that we're going to end up playing with over time. But as it stands right now, I don't have it, and it's not being offered through the Lenovo Vantage application, which is normally where you would get those drivers and firmware updates. So if we take a look, on the left we have Dolby Vision, and on the right we have OLED. And I just switched the wallpaper on the OLED one to the one that came with it. So one of the things about OLED is that you can see that you can't really see where the screen ends and where the bezel begins. And that's because with an LCD is entirely backlit. An OLED, some pixels are turned on, some are not. OLED stands for Organic Light Emitting Diodes. And since those pixels are turned off, what you get with the pixels that are turned on, you often get more vibrant colors because they're not on top of a backlit background. So on LCDs, the colors can often look more washed out. Now, I'm not saying there aren't great LCDs, because there are, and clearly this is one of them, because Dolby Vision is awesome, and you should be able to watch beautiful HDR movies on it, and it'll look great. So the software for the Dolby Vision isn't available yet either, but you can see still that it looks awesome. I mean, I'm going to spend a lot of time looking at Dolby Vision and putting it next to that OLED display and seeing what they look like together, because really the main focus of this review is this display. I'm going to review the rest of it, but I already reviewed the 3rd gen X1 Yoga, and it's out there already. I know that it's an awesome convertible. The body is very much the same as last year's. You could see that they're exactly the same size. There are some changes. You can see that the ThinkPad logo has changed, right? We can put these right next to each other. It's sort of a grayish silver on last year's model. Now it's more of a chromish black. Really, the device should be blacker than last year's model, although I don't really see it. See, by the way, this is a little more banged up because I've been using it for a year. And that's one of the reasons that I send back most of my review units. I kept this one because it's really that good that I'm going to need to compare it to future models, and it's important. So we have the new ThinkPad logo over here. We have a new X1 logo over here, where last year you see they used a Lenovo logo that you can barely see. All right, the hinges are now black because those were that grayish silver last year. And of course, we have lots and lots of ports. We have 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports on this side, and we have a USB Type-A port over here. We have another USB Type-A port, HDMI, 3.5mm combo audio jack, and the power button. The power button is on the side, where on the X1 Carbon you'll find it by the keyboard, and the reason for that is because it's a convertible, so you might not want to control everything from the keyboard, especially if you're using it as a tablet. One thing that disappoints me about these ports is that last year they had 3, and like I said, there was 2 on this side, and like I said, the body really hasn't changed, so I don't understand why they removed that port. So you see subtle design changes. They removed a USB Type-A port, new ThinkPad logo, new X1 logo, black hinges, and of course Dolby Vision instead of OLED, and that is going to be the main focus, is that Dolby Vision, and does it live up? Because when I like I said, I opened this right up and I said last year that this OLED ThinkPad X1 Yoga might be the perfect laptop, and I love it. The screen is always pleasant to look at. You look at the screen, you're just like, wow, that's nice. and then you look at something else. I actually got one of my friends to buy an OLED ThinkPad X1 Yoga, and I showed her the Yoga 920 and I showed her the X1 Yoga because obviously the ThinkPads are a little more expensive than the consumer models. So the Yoga 920 has a beautiful 4K LCD display, and she looked at both of them side by side and said, "What's wrong with the Yoga 920?" And that's just how good this display is. The average person will look at these two things side by side and be like, "Wow, that's the good one." And you don't want to put it down. So really that's going to be the focus is can Dolby Vision measure up to OLED? If it doesn't measure up, is it close enough to where battery improvements will make up for it? You know, it's the same specs, same resolution, 1440p, 14 inches, and really it's just about that display quality. So I'll have more on that in a few weeks, and I'm really excited about it because, again, I love that OLED model, and this was like the product that I wanted to review this year. Anyway, guys, I'm Rich from NeoWin. Have a great night.